Hello and welcome to Biodegradio, your weekly dose of all things sustainable. You're here with Alison today on the show, and we have Nicholas Engerer. Sorry, I did try and practice that before.
We practiced, but it's a tricky one.
Sorry about that. So Nicholas is the Associate Lecturer at the Fenner School at ANU, the Australian National University, and he has kindly agreed to give up his time today to chat to us about solar, essentially. So basically, I don't know if you could give us a bit of a background about yourself. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, sure. So as soon as I start talking, everybody's, oh, well, he sounds funny. That's because I'm from the United States. I'm here in Australia finishing up my PhD at the ANU, and also have recently been employed as a lecturer at the Fenner School of Environment and Society. And my research area is in solar energy forecasting. So predicting how much solar energy will be produced in an area ahead of time. So a lot of people hear that and they think, oh, you do those resource maps, or, tell people how much money they can expect to get back from their solar system. It's a little bit different than that. We're looking at a much shorter time scale. I'm interested in what's going to happen in 5 minutes, 10 minutes, an hour, 2 hours a day.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So we might go into that a little bit further and explain how that is, because it sounds quite complicated, how you work out what's going to happen into the future.
Yes, exactly, into the future. And the reason I'm interested in that is I come from a background in meteorology, so the study of the weather. And before I did my PhD, I did a bachelor's and master's degree in meteorology. Very, very fascinated by the weather. I love clouds. If you see a guy in the sidewalk pointing his iPhone at the sky, taking pictures of the clouds, could be me, so stop and say hi.
That's fantastic. A cloud lover. There's very few of them around. Have you read that book about clouds? It's called the
I don't know
Guide
if I have.
to Clouds or something.
No, I should check that out, really. It sounds like a good one to keep on the coffee table.
But they basically say, there's more people who are into clouds than you think. It's I suppose it's not that surprising when you look out today. The beautiful blue sky. There's a lot to be inspired by in terms of clouds, but there's not actually any clouds out today. I'm pretty sure
there are a few out there. I was paying attention. I always know if there are or not. There's some cirrus clouds up there today.
Oh, there you go.
Those are really high up in the atmosphere.
It shows my attention to detail. I think that's an excellent segue for a fantastic song you brought in.
Yes, I did. I did bring some music in today. This is from the artist Wilco, and it's the title track from Sky Blue Sky, their 2007 album.
Oh, the band marched on information.
And that was Wilco. It was basically Sky Blue Sky.
Sky Blue Sky, correct, yep.
And that was a pick by Nicholas, who's come in to talk to us, which is fantastic. It's very rare that someone who offers up their time also offers up their music. So I'm particularly stoked about that.
Excellent.
And it's a pretty good segue, I think, as well, back to what we were talking about before, and that is your background, how you got so excited about solar and was looking at weather to begin with. But then I suppose what we like to do on Biodegradio is really kind of get to the crux of how it is you got to be excited in the first place. So, was it when you were a little kid sitting there looking at the clouds and some amazing formation, showed the way into the future or something?
Absolutely. It started at a very young age for me. It was very clear that I wanted to pursue my interest in weather. When I was a young kid, I was fascinated by severe weather in particular. And back home in Ohio, we often had severe weather events, thunderstorms, hail, severe winds, tornadoes. And in the United States, we have these things called weather radios that go off, alarm sounds. And you go to the weather radio and you check it, and it tells you what type of severe weather event alert has been released, and where it will affect, what areas of the forecast region which it will affect. And I used to always run to that and really excited to figure out what was going on. And I would be screaming, "It's a severe thunderstorm, severe, severe." So I was really, really passionate, excited person from being a real young guy. And that naturally extended into me pursuing meteorology at the university level, which is how I've gotten into the research sector and everything like that. Originally, I wanted to be a weatherman, and I did try that out for a while.
Oh,
actually
fantastic.
doing some on-air broadcast meteorology stuff, and It was
That's
fun.
so great. It's such a fantastic background to have. Particularly, I think that really does inform your whole experience as a kid. It does inform your interests, because I remember I was from Perth, and we have what's called the Fremantle Doctor. So at every a point in every day, we get the sea breeze coming in, and it really made me want to find out more about the whole highs and lows and pressure, and the impact of certain things that drive others above all. And I suppose when it comes to the weather, the sun is really the source of everything, right? So it's very fitting that you eventually move towards looking at solar projects. And so I suppose, we could go into a bit about what your main focus is at the moment at uni, and that is looking at solar forecasting, particularly looking at solar forecasting in regard to solar generation. So for people out there who aren't that familiar with that terminology, that would mean having a solar PV system on your roof, which is basically a set of panels, and obviously as the sun comes over, it generates electricity, and so your project is really about trying to improve our understanding of what's coming into the future. Is that right?
This is correct, yeah. The big project that I'm working with right now is actually funded by the Australian Renewable Energy Agency, and it's a joint project between NICTA, the National ICT Centre of Excellence, that actually has headquarters here in Canberra at their Canberra Research Laboratory, and the ANU. And we are using some funding to actually launch a solar forecasting project that looks at the specific challenges in regards to rooftop solar energy systems. So you can imagine, in general, you have a lot of PV systems being on people's roofs. Especially in Canberra, you drive around, there's actually, I think, 14,000 now that are slated to be installed, if not already installed. The most recent changes to the feed-in tariff have had a whole bunch of people sign up. And you need to provide information to either the energy market operator or distributors about how much electricity those systems are going to produce ahead of time if we want to continue to integrate more of them into the electricity grid. Because you can imagine, if there's so many systems out there and they can produce when the sun is shining on a sky blue sky sunny day, they can, let's see how I tied that in there.
Yeah, that's nice.
If you can have about 30 to 40 megawatts of power. And if that all of a sudden disappears or all of a sudden reappears because of cloud formations, here we go, bringing in the meteorology, that can create problems on the electricity grid if we get to a level where there's enough of them. Right now, it's okay, we can handle it, but more and more people are going to be putting solar on their rooftops. And so we need to be practicing and developing the methods for dealing with these types of what we would call ramp events in the near future. Especially in the ACT, we're putting in several big solar farms. They've announced 40 megawatts of solar farms are putting in. You're going to have people putting more PV on the rooftops. It's at a point where it doesn't need to be subsidized anymore. It's just pure economics. It's a pretty exciting time to be in the solar sector.
It is. It's gone gangbusters in more recent times, I suppose.
Right.
And that's for a number of reasons. It's quite interesting, in terms of costs. Costs have decreased significantly. But I suppose we're lucky in Australia here to have really solid support for solar. People really like it. It's popular. We have now over 1 million households.
Yes, I actually think the number is 1.4 million. Yeah. It's over 2 gigawatts of installed capacity, which means if the sun is shining, we're producing as much power as 4 coal power plants. Wow. So that's a pretty cool number.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. And so I suppose what you're talking about before about, as clouds come over, you might see a drop in electricity production. The way that's important for the network is that, people who are providing electricity really want to know if there's going to be a sudden dip so they can provide another source.
That's exactly right, yeah. So we have to be balancing the grid. For example, if you know that you're going to be losing a large amount of solar power off the grid, you can then dispatch more power from elsewhere to compensate for that. Otherwise, you might have voltage dips on the grid, so you might have the voltage level come down too much. Or the converse can be true. You could have all of a sudden a cloud deck clears and a bunch of PV starts producing lots of electricity and you have too high of voltage. Right now, at the levels of penetration we have currently, this isn't such a big problem for areas like Canberra, but the numbers we're looking at in the near future are 3 to 4 times as much as what we have right now.
Wow,
so that's what we're targeting, is really being prepared for that. And as a nice segue to that, one of the things that's really cool about talking about this on Biodegradio is that we're actually launching a project in Canberra to use Canberra as a test bed for the solar forecasting system.
For a whole of Australia, or maybe even the world. Can we say that?
Yes, I would love to see
Worldly.
that technology. I think we are uniquely placed with the type of research and skills we have in Canberra right now, and this partnership between NICTA and the ANU to do something like that.
Yeah, it's really exciting. I think we actually are pretty blessed in terms of the calibre of people who are at ANU. And so for this project to kind of join together all of those clever minds and, use Canberra as a test case, it's very exciting. I'm excited on behalf of everyone in Canberra.
Yes, excellent. Me too.